There is a roofing rule that gets repeated all the time. If more than 25% of the roof is damaged, insurance has to buy the whole roof. It sounds simple, but it is not a safe way to explain the rule. The so-called 25% rule is real in Florida, but the version many contractors repeat is outdated. The real question is not simply, is more than 25% damaged? You also need to know what counts as the roof section, what work counts toward the percentage, what happened during the previous 12 months, when the roof was built or re-roofed, and which code applies. And because Florida changed the law in 2022, the permit and code history of the roof can completely change the result. So let's break down what the rule actually says, the exception many roofers miss, and how to document it when it legitimately affects a supplement. As of 2026, Florida is under the 8th edition, 2023 Florida Building Code. Section 706.1.1 of the existing building code says that not more than 25% of the total roof area or roof section may be repaired, replaced, or recovered during any 12-month period unless the roof covering on the entire roof system or affected roof section is brought into compliance. Two details matter. First, the code does not say, if 25% of the shingles have hail damage, it deals with the amount being repaired, replaced, or recovered. Second, the base wording says not more than 25%. So exactly 25% is not more than 25%. The base threshold is crossed when the work exceeds 25%. But even then, you are not finished, because Florida added a major exception. This is where old roofing advice becomes inaccurate. Florida Statute 553.844 provides an exception for certain roofs. If the existing roofing system or roof section was built, repaired, or replaced in compliance with the 2007 Florida Building Code or a later edition, then only the portion actually being worked on is required to comply with the currently applicable code, even when the work reaches the statutory threshold. That means more than 25% always means the entire roof must be replaced in Florida is no longer correct. This is why permit history matters. Do not guess the roof age from appearance. And do not rely only on what the homeowner remembers. Pull the permit history. Find out when the affected roofing system or roof section was built, repaired, or replaced, and whether the qualifying code history can actually be established. The next mistake is using the wrong area for the calculation. Florida defines a roof section using actual physical or legal divisions. Those can include joints, parapet walls, certain flashing separations, changes in elevation, different roofing types, or legal divisions. But ordinary valleys, hips, and ridges do not automatically create separate roof sections. In plain English, a normal roof slope is not automatically its own roof section. Imagine the legitimate roof section is 3,000 square feet and the supported repair area is 800 square feet. That is about 26.7%. Now imagine somebody incorrectly calls a 1,200 square foot slope the entire roof section. The same 800 square foot repair suddenly looks like almost 67%. The math is fine. The denominator is wrong. And if the denominator is wrong, the 25% argument can be wrong. There is another important Florida detail. In Declaratory Statement DS 2021-007, the Florida Building Commission addressed roofing that must be disturbed only to connect a repaired area to the unrepaired roof. That tie-in only area should not be counted toward the 25% threshold. For example, suppose the actual repair area is 22%, but another 7% of sound roofing must be disturbed only to make the repair tie-in properly. You should not simply add 22 plus 7 and claim that 29% triggers full replacement. The tie-in work itself may still involve legitimate labor and materials. That is a separate estimating question. But it should not be used artificially to push the percentage across the threshold. Now let's put it together. Assume a Florida roof section measures 3,000 square feet. The supported area actually being repaired or replaced is 960 square feet. That is 32%. At first glance, you might think, above 25%, full section replacement. Not so fast. Ask 4 questions. 1. Is 3,000 square feet the correct roof section under the code? 2. Is the 960 square foot area truly being repaired, replaced, or recovered, with tie-in only area separated correctly? 3. Was other qualifying roof work performed during the previous 12 months? 4. When was this roofing system or section built, repaired, or replaced? If permit history shows the affected section was properly re-roofed under the 2007 Florida Building Code, or later, the statutory exception may mean the remaining portion is not automatically required to be replaced under this provision. On another property where that qualifying history cannot be established, the result may be different. That is why 32% alone does not decide the file. Before putting a 25% argument into a supplement, use this process. Step 1. Identify the jurisdiction. Find the city, county, or building department with authority over the property and confirm the adopted code addition and local amendments. Step 2. Pull the permit history. In Florida, determine whether the roofing system or affected roof section was built, repaired, or replaced under the 2007 Florida Building Code or a later edition. Step 3. Define the roof section correctly. Do not create smaller sections just because the roof has multiple slopes, hips, ridges, or valleys. Step 4. Measure the actual work area. Document what is being repaired, replaced, or recovered, and separate tie-in only roofing where applicable. Step 5. Check the previous 12 months. The Florida provision specifically uses a 12-month period, so recent qualifying roof work can matter. Step 6. Verify the requirement with the authority having jurisdiction when necessary. That means the building department or building official enforcing the code. A permit comment, plan review note, written interpretation, or other documented requirement is much stronger than simply saying, "My contractor says code requires it." If a code requirement legitimately changes the construction scope, make the file easy to review. Include the roof measurement. Show the actual repair area. Include the roof diagram. Include permit history. Identify the applicable code provision. Include photographs. And include written building department direction when available. Then connect those facts directly to the operations being requested in the estimate. Do not use the phrase 25% rule as a reason to automatically add every code-related roofing item. Deck attachment, secondary water barriers, flashing, ventilation, roof-to-wall connections, permits, and other operations can have their own separate requirements. Every requested operation should have its own legitimate reason and documentation. The goal is not to make the estimate bigger. The goal is to make the scope match the work the code actually requires on that specific property. This distinction is critical. Building code requirements and insurance coverage are separate questions. A building official can determine what work is required for a legal, permitted repair. That does not automatically determine what the homeowner's policy pays. Coverage can depend on the policy, including ordinance or law provisions, limits, exclusions, causation, deductibles, and other terms. So document the construction requirement. But do not tell the homeowner, "The building code says the insurance company has to buy the whole roof." A supplement can document a legitimate code-driven scope difference, but it cannot rewrite the policy. It cannot create ordinance or law coverage. It cannot eliminate the deductible. And it cannot guarantee carrier approval. One more major mistake. This is not a universal American 25% roof replacement rule. Building codes vary by state, municipality, adopted edition, building type, and local amendments. Other jurisdictions may use percentage thresholds for completely different purposes. So never take a Florida code section and paste it into a claim in another state. Always ask, what code applies to this exact property, and what does the local authority having jurisdiction require? The 25% rule can matter. But the strongest supplement is not the one that simply says, damage exceeds 25%, replace the whole roof. A stronger file establishes the correct roof section. It establishes the actual measured repair area. It checks the previous 12 months. It verifies permit and code history. In Florida, it checks whether the 2007 code or later exception applies. It separates tie-in only work correctly. And when necessary, it documents what the local building official actually requires. That is the difference between repeating a roofing slogan and building a defensible supplement. At American Roof Supplements, We help roofing companies prepare professional residential Xactimate estimates and supplements around legitimate, documented scope, not claim inflation, and not insurance coverage interpretation. New customers get their first estimate or supplement free. There are no monthly fees and no minimum number of jobs. You only send us work when you need it. To get started, schedule an appointment at AmericanRoofSupplements.com.